Hey, Lucas. Perfect.
Hey, guys. I'm testing my new fiber connection.
Nice, congrats.
Yeah. Going from 25 megabit to 1 gigabit.
Oh, Lama. Why do you need so much?
Because I can. And I couldn't before. And now I can.
That's a great point. I think we don't have anyone from Gateway, but anyway, that's the big topic from today. Is another one. So I think we should start with the elephant in the room. On the last call, we were considering picking a date for mainnet, but Philip brought up the topic of ERC20 not being compliant on Gnosis for the stake token due to the fact that we execute a transfer as part of a system transaction. During this week, there has been a bit of stream, so we will update. Igor has done an impact analysis of what tools may break if we don't follow the ERC20 standard. So we can start with that, and then we will go with execution depths to get an update on the different solutions that we propose. So if you want, Igor, take it from here.
Yeah, hello everyone. So I have done like little analysis. What can break from like the ecosystem side if we will not like stay ERC20 compliant. So the short summary is like container list. First of all, for example, it's Dune, because we will be not ERC compliant with Geno. All dashboards that are used for like ERC20 will not be plug and play at that moment, because they will not count, for example, for like counting list of token holders, they will not count like shadow addresses that will appear in situation when we will use like new address that have no like transfer events in it, like in its history. So it will be not counted. Also, this issue related to everything that is using like circulation supply. For example, like Gnosis DAO is using like snapshots for voting, and that snapshots will not count, for example, abstain Geno that will be held on like shadow addresses. Also, voting threshold is based on circulation supply. Then all like indexers and like block explorers for execution layer will show improper list of token holders because they will not count like such addresses that was used for withdrawal. Also, we have like Oracle protocol system in like in Gnosis ecosystem that have data feed, which is called like cross-chain balance. And they use their own snapshots for like cross-chain balances. And such snapshots are based on list of token holders that they are extract from like history transfer events for Geno. And there are like also a couple of proprietary systems that are like have alerts or they have like event-based interaction. For example, like Curve Grid. But it's hard to say will be is there will be like some problems with them because it's hard to like have a look how they are collect their data. And that's all findings so far.
So in other words, it looks like this must be addressed, right?
I have the same impression.
Yeah, I think the feedback is there is a cost, definitely. So let's look at solutions. Do you guys want to present if you have any inputs on what happens if with the receipt solution, cost transaction solution, etc.?
Well, at the moment, we haven't come to any conclusions regarding withdrawal receipts as we're still in the middle of research. And the deeper we dig, the more complex the solution looks like, the bigger the deviation from the Ethereum network and the more potential issues there are. So in other words, it looks like more complicated than we initially thought it would be. And with this stage, we're definitely more time. But at the moment, it's hard to say how much. So I don't know. We just need more time. I don't know, a couple of days, maybe a week, because we're just experimenting with it right now. And now I got a perception that it's a must-have feature before the hard work. So yeah, we'll intensify our works.
So our proposal is to add a transaction, probably with a special transaction type. I would do it this way and call it withdrawal transaction type. This transaction should look like kind of like a transaction that would be generated by the node when processing transactions. So we can verify that. For example, it looks properly. Like, for example, in its data, it should have addresses and amounts or something, or it can be empty data, whatever, right? It doesn't have to. So I'm speculating here, and add it at the end, right, of the block, or at the beginning, also whatever. And now when block will be processed, so it can be like downloaded, it will be in the block, so it can have its own receipts, it will be addressable by these receipts, it will have a hash. So it can also be synced correctly, and receipts can be synced correctly with the current mechanism without changing. The only thing is that when processing the block, when we come to this transaction, we ignore processing it, and instead generate our own transaction for withdrawals at the end. We either have to have something in this transaction that we will very rigorously validate, or we kind of ignore it, what's there. Let's say it's empty in terms of like data, and we just generate the proper transaction that we execute instead, and attach the receipts, right? Something like that. We are exploring. I think we are like partly there, because I got a PR from Ruben today, or Branch, but it's not there yet. I think there are still potential problems, and we don't know if there will be some unexpected problems. Ruben?
Yeah, I would expect some unexpected problems, but I got a question more to Gnosis guys. So when it comes to the system transaction or the simulated transaction, do you guys need a single transaction with the sum of all withdrawals, or this transactions should be separate per withdrawal?
One. It will be simpler for everything.
Yeah, the only requisite so far is having logs, so it doesn't matter if all of them are in the same transaction.
One transaction would be better. It would add less artificial things.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. All right.
Andrew?
Yeah, I just was thinking whether just adding a system transaction receipt to receipts without adding this system transaction option B, isn't it simpler? Because, well, I mean, we could add a system transaction. It just sounds to me like a tad more complicated rather than adding the receipt.
How it would be addressed for receipts, or it will be just addressed by logs?
Are receipts addressed by transaction hash? I just don't remember.
Yes, receipts are addressed by transaction hash, though if you go through ETH get logs, you kind of search all of them, right?
Okay, maybe, right, I see.
But also, for example, we Nethermind have, at least in one place, when downloading receipts, we have a check that the number of receipts is equal to the number of transactions. And I would expect maybe some tooling have this kind of things, that if they, I don't know, maybe not, but it's like, it's weird to have a receipt without a transaction.
I know about more places when we expect the same amount of receipts and transactions. For example, in JSON RPC. Of course, doable, but we need to...
I think adding an artificial transaction is simpler, because it's more explicit also, and it maps better.
But then we probably have to make sure that this transaction it's always unique, because then we can use its hash as a unique identifier. So it's unique per block, right?
Okay. Yeah, we can bump nonce or something there, or whatever. Yeah,
Okay,
it's a hacky solution, and I don't like it. I don't like this solution. Just I don't have a better one. So maybe if someone has a better one, then I'm open.
Yeah, maybe can we recap the document? If you can, Igor, open the hackmd. I can send the link here again. 1 second, let me copy the link, and I'll paste on the chat for everyone's reference.
In Telegram, please.
Yes, can repost there too. Cool. So option A, not doing anything. The analysis shows that some tooling is broken, which has a cost that we may deem not acceptable. But we don't have to change anything. Option B, as we're discussing now, having this imbalance of receipts and transactions may be really ugly and have unforeseen consequences that we're still not aware of. Option C, adding this sort of ghost transaction is pretty ugly, if I understand, and yeah, we'll deviate the consensus side more. Option D, I think we haven't studied enough. Like we don't even know if this would fix the issue or not. Option E, this would make the block structure different from Ethereum, so we don't want that.
Well, maybe not the structure, but the semantics.
Right. And then option F, which we added today, is we could change the withdraw contract from being a push distribution to a pull distribution, where the system transaction, instead of actually executing transfers, it will just record in contract storage who owns what, and then expect some other entity in a regular transaction in the next block or any future block to actually execute the transfers. This would require no change at all in consensus. The clients will stay vanilla. It will even simplify the system transaction because there is no need to handle the insolvency case. Just change storage slots. We may want to do it through a contract anyway, just to not have to manipulate things. But anyway, there will be no, like, if we interact with the contract that we know about, there is no uncertainty. There is only some storage changes, and that's it. The other positive point is because in Gnosis, the value of the key is quite low. The concentration of entities per keys is quite high. So in truth, the number of indexes is much greater than the individual withdrawal credentials. In other words, what you need to actually execute later in a transaction is one per accumulated withdrawals in the same address. So the total load in the network may be less, and something that I guess we can handle. Like Gnosis could have a DevOps action that every X amount of time could trigger withdraw for everyone. Anyone can trigger them on their own, so there should be no concern of blockage funds. But it has the point that there is this extra step. So I guess this is more of a UX question, but just FYI, this option exists, and it looks like it would.
F a lot.
Yeah, Ruben?
Yeah, I also really like this approach. I mean, the option F. But my concern is, like, besides the, say, poor UX, is the later execution of the withdrawal is, say, 100% guaranteed then?
Well, if we can design the contract in a way that it is, like anyone at any point in the future can trigger this distribution.
And it should be unconditionally included in a later block, right?
You mean that the transaction that I would say no, because we want these transactions to be regular transactions, so we don't have to add extra logic. If the blocks are really full, this could be evicted, but I don't think that should be an issue. Or what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, just it should be executed. Okay, if not next block, maybe the one after the next block anyway, but it should be like 100% executed in the future, right? So we don't want to end up in a situation that someone was stuck with their transaction withdrawals or whatever.
I mean, getting around that sounds very ugly. We can just, if there is an attack, I'm sure that Gnosis can pay enough gas for the transaction to be included.
Mhm.
And if we are talking about this type of situations, like the whole rollup architecture in Ethereum mainnet breaks down.
I see. Yeah, this is very interesting approach, obviously.
So
Yes.
we definitely consider at this moment, like we had two designs for the contract, like one push and one pull. We went for the push for the UX benefit, but I think it's more important to not break cooling than alleviate one action from users.
Yeah, I would say
yeah.
go this.
Yeah,
this
it looks like everyone likes this approach. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't doubt that you guys would like it because, yeah, definitely from execution side, it's fantastic. I think just to be sure about these actions, I would like to do one post in the forum or just check with the community, but I don't think there would be too much concern.
Yeah, perhaps you need to somehow explain them in a good way why we need this. Yeah.
Yes.
One interesting thing to add. So in Aura, there was this contract that allowed us to prioritize some transactions and potentially, or not prioritize. How was it called? It's transaction priority or okay, sorry,
Yeah.
I don't remember which one, but there was one thing that allowed us to potentially prioritize a transaction, and secondly make it a potentially free transaction. Maybe we should bring this back and configure for this, so anyone at any time could withdraw if or at least withdraw without additional cost or something. Transaction priority contract, yeah.
Then can I attack? I could attack the network with spamming withdrawals.
Yeah, potentially. So the contract can be quite sophisticated, right? Because it's but yeah, again, might not be worth it.
I mean, we can say if we will monitor behavior. If we see problems or an attack, then we can implement this at a later date.
But this is a consensus change.
True. Okay, is there any objection on, because it seems we are pretty set on this, like should we stop other investigations and just go with F, or do we want to still explore a bit more the other options?
I would say go with this. The consensus change is a hack. Like I said, I didn't like it in the first place. I just didn't find any other way of doing this on the execution layer client side.
Yeah, and consensus changes might be harder in future with some unexpected EIPs in future. So yeah, I agree. F.
So for us, nothing would change. Only the contract internals would change here.
If anyone has specific knowledge about something, things like Rocket Pool and Stakewise and whatever, and could maybe study the question a bit about if this would make an impact on those tools, that would be nice.
Okay. Because we might fix one tooling and break another.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's kind of the team we have going on right now, right? So we find a solution for the previous thing, and then we introduce a new issue. So yeah.
Why could it break Rocket Pool?
I don't know if it could break it or not, but maybe there's some assumptions. Maybe at least they would have to implement some additional function to call the withdrawal function if it's not done externally automatically or whatever. So yeah, just think about it if someone has specific knowledge about those, basically.
Are you talking about this cool approach that could break Rocket Pool?
Yes.
Maybe not break, but it won't work without modification, right?
Right. Because they would have to call the pull function to get the tokens, whereas in the original version or in the current one at least, they just get those credited to the withdrawal address automatically.
Right, but anyone could withdraw for anyone, so it's not necessary for the withdraw address to call withdraw on its behalf. Anyone can do in its behalf. So
yeah,
I don't think it will.
Then, I mean,
I don't think they will break it. They will just need to add some infrastructure
Exactly.
to make sure that this happens.
Because maybe they also have an assumption that says when a withdrawal happens and I can see it on chain, then I know that my account was credited, which will no longer be the case. For example, I basically have no idea how it works.
That's not possible now.
Well, yes, because on Gnosis, when a withdrawal happens, then your account is not credited. Maybe on Ethereum they have this kind of assumption that says, okay,
right, but in the EVM level, unless you pass Merkle roots, you don't have any like opcode or anything to check that a withdrawal happened.
No, but maybe in the oracles or whatever. I don't know. That's the point. I don't know the architecture, but maybe they have some tools or oracles that look at those blocks and sees, okay, I have a withdrawal. That means I can credit some account, and I assume that it's there. So maybe our users can automatically withdraw, but the money is not there. Something like that. I don't know.
I think the whole the point is about, I don't know, talking with Rocket Pool guys, how it will affect their infrastructure.
Yep.
Yeah, we've already contacted Stakewise about it. Stakewise, sorry. So yeah.
Okay, so F's in the chat.
So potentially, for example, Gnosis could send those transactions like withdrawal for everyone or something?
Yes.
Although I'm not a huge fan of, relying on this to happen systematically.
Well, it's not relaying. We're just doing it for the goodwill. That when a staker needs the funds to restake or do something, they will just claim them and then do whatever they have to do.
Yeah, that's fine.
Which is, I mean, we are not even required to do that service. We can even see if that's necessary at all.
Okay, this will require new audits though, so this will also delay the hard fork.
Yeah, I think anyway the hard fork is delayed.
Yes.
But it will ease on the compatibility side with Ethereum, so it's long-term support in my opinion,
Exactly.
lower costs.
Only one additional problem will be Chiado. We want to move Chiado to new withdrawals, but we can discuss when we have final solution.
Yeah, that's true. And Chiado is also broken forever now. With the GNO events at least are broken forever. So that's also some topic we might have to address at some point.
Yeah, we can schedule the hard fork that is changing one withdrawal method from previous to the new one, but it is not perfect one. But maybe let's wait with this question when we
will never
have
recover the logs, missed logs.
But that should be fine. I guess it's. I don't see that it has so much use. I don't know.
And another option is just create new testnet. Just talking about options. Well,
worst case, there's just like 2 addresses that would have an incorrect balance because there's no other validators, so it's not that big of an issue.
Yeah, and we noticed that when we schedule wrong timestamp for Chiado, no one basically complained about it, so maybe there is no that big usage, but you probably know better.
Yeah, I would go for the simplest option.
So restart the network, right?
Or reset.
If we just update the clients and change the contract on the fly, nothing should happen?
No, we need hard work here.
No, we don't. We just
No, because
the contract.
the system transaction calling is the same.
Clients can stay the same. We can change the contract on the fly.
Really? Okay. Maybe I'm missing something.
Clients don't change. They call the contract right now. They will call the contract later. It's client agnostic at this moment.
So only if receipts.
Yeah. There are no receipts. We call it in a system transaction. So outside of normal transactions, we'll call it the same. It's nothing changes on the client.
Not end of the world. I guess.
Yeah, so you change the contract and it starts behaving differently from this
Okay, makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
I'm losing you guys. So what solution are you talking about? Is this for option F or C?
Yes, the last one, the contract.
Okay, yeah.
So from our perspective, nothing will change in the client, right?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. This is purely a downstream change.
So the biggest question mark with this approach for now is Rocket Pool, right? To check with them.
Yeah.
Rocket Pool and generally some staking services, not sure.
Any staking service and also our community to check if, they would agree on such a vote, basically. It should be a GIP, I guess. But that's it. And for Kiado, if you want to spin up a new testnet, then that will also, need to be addressed by the community at least. Or I mean, we have to poll them to make sure that, because we were just starting to build some infrastructure around Kiado and making this testnet a bit more used. So if we start this campaign and then 2 months after we start cutting it, that's not going to be great.
Yeah, I think that restarting Kiado is completely necessary.
Yeah,
at least if we go for option F, it's completely necessary.
So why is it necessary? Sorry, I didn't get why.
No, it is not necessary.
It's not. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, let's move on. Any regarding this topic? All good? Any other comments, questions, remarks? Just to outline, so the ball is now on Gnosis comms and research side to double check that option F is good. If it is, we will change the contract, and when it's ready, update and move on. So next topic, testnet. I think nothing on this here. We already discussed. Research. I think we're good. Then Hive tests.
Hello, guys. Sorry. Regarding the update test, the Hive test, we finalized adding the test for withdrawal sync and withdrawal reorgs. That basically, once we sync the node, once we sync one node, we add another node to the simulation and trying to sync on top of that, and we are reaching the head without issues. And in case of the reorgs, we add another node once one is synced and perform a sidechain there and trying to make the reorgs, applying withdrawals and checking that the withdrawals are being reverted in those cases. So basically those two tests are done. With that, we have the sync test, the reorg test, and the base test that covers the whole withdrawal test that are on the initial Hive test. So yeah, Marek.
Marcus, one thing that we could consider is maybe adding such page like Ethereum mainnet has for Hive test, so we can check how was the last execution of Nethermind and Erigon in Hive test. Just FYI that something like that exists.
Yeah, thank you so much. I will be looking into that. So for this week, the plan is to look into how to check that the events, how to check events on the test, on the Hive test, for the upcoming features that you was just talking about here. So probably I will need to look about how it looks on the end to add test about that, and start to add. Not start. Start to look into run those tests on Erigon. The same tests that right now are working for Nethermind, trying to make it work for Erigon too. So yeah, would be cool if Andrew, you can send me any update on how to run Erigon on Gnosis since the last time we spoke. That would be great. And that's all regarding the Hive. Thank you.
But do you have, maybe you can just message me directly, because you to run Erigon for Gnosis, you only say chain Gnosis and that's it. But there might be, if you run it in the Hive, for Hive tests, there might be special tricks for the initial setup. Anyway, just ping me with the questions you have.
Sure. I will ping you in the next couple of days about that once I organize the whole repo to handle Erigon and Nethermind.
Thank you for the updates. So then, any other update from clients? Erigon, do you want to bring anything up?
Yeah, we have a new team member, Somnat, who'll be working on Gnosis Chain with me. So please welcome him.
Yes, very excited. Welcome.
Thank you, Andrew. My name is Somnat. I will be joining Erigon to work with Gnosis Chain. Excited to be here.
It's glad to see you here before Andrew burns out. And Nethermind, any other updates besides everything we've talked so far?
Yes, we released a new version, 1.19.1. We fixed for if get logs. So you can update Gnosis nodes.
Thank you. And this indentation is getting me crazy. What's going on? I'm not sure if anyone from Gateway made it. I don't think so. Then Guillaume, anything you want to bring up?
Yeah, not much, but I just, I keep making some progress into the execution of the reward contract. I still get reverts, but I just identified what my problem was. It looks like the way I pegged the ABI is wrong, so I have to try that. And hopefully that was the last problem. But yeah, so some progress, but not amazing yet.
Got it. Thank you. And just to check, this system transaction that we are doing, does it have any negative interaction with Berkeley try design?
No, it should not. I mean, the reason why is because the Vertical tries, it's just the way the data is stored. It might, everything should be, if the clients are properly programmed, which from what I can tell they are, you should be able to just swap let's say the backend, like the commitment, the state commitment backend, and everything else should proceed as normal. Even I think for the proof, you should still be able to make proofs as long as your proof logic includes the state transaction. But because the system call system transactions. But because of system transactions, they basically just update the tree. You should have no problem making proofs against it. So yeah, I don't foresee any problem. I don't expect any problem.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, and if you need any help in terms of DevOps to run dev versions of Geth, and let us know.
I still have my machine that has been serving me well for a year. So yeah, no, thank you. I will let you know, but no need for that for the moment.
Cool. Thank you. So I think that's all on the agenda. Any remaining points from anyone? Otherwise, have a great week and see you all somewhere else in the world or in another call for next week.
Goodbye, guys. Have a great week.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
You-
Bye bye.
Bye bye, everyone.